The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
Good evening and welcome to my State of Mind. I am Dan Yorke. Our hospitality business in Rhode Island has, for all intents and purposes, been crushed. When we hear about 85% decreases in gross revenue for hotels, and we look ahead to the winter trying to figure out how restaurants will maintain indoor dining, it feels daunting. Well, rather than cowering over it, we've got to talk about it and find some solutions, right? So tonight we will join Sarah Bratko from the Rhode Island Hospitality Association to break down each of the situations and find out what the advocacy and need for government response is. And so Sarah Bratko returns from the Rhode Island Hospitality Association. She's the Vice President of Advocacy and General Counsel. It's a very long title with a lot of stuff to have to do. Sarah, welcome back to the broadcast. Great to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we don't have to revisit all the way back to March since we've had that conversation before, but let's pick up from the summertime in general. Tell me what your view is of both the hospitality environment and the economy that surrounds it.
Things are still certainly challenging. Obviously the pandemic is still here. We have incredibly restrictive rules governing how restaurants operate, how hotels operate, how really all businesses are operating. But people are starting to get into the swing of things, if that makes sense. We've been at this now for just over 7 months. And so, we're looking at this as saying, okay, if we're going to operate under these restrictions, under this reality, then we're going to make the best of it.
About a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I had a small business owner, restaurant owner, on the broadcast, and he was telling me, he had sent me a text to say, hey, Dan, there's a dynamic out there that you may not be aware of, and that is we can't get any help, which I just thought was hard to compute, but then made sense in pretty short thought, even without. I bet you there are a lot of people staying on the sidelines, not wanting to jump in based on what might be some guaranteed cash flow and unemployment, hoping for more subsidies versus the risk of going to work for a restaurant. So turns out that's exactly what it was. And he was telling me that right up and down the strip, if you would, in Cumberland, our hometown, all of the restaurants are with help wanted signs and really are struggling that way. First, what is your take on that? B, are you getting the same kind of intelligence? And C, what do we do about it?
Absolutely. So workforce challenges have been an issue for the industry pre-COVID. So pre-COVID, we had historically low unemployment, and that means finding good qualified employees was an increasingly challenging thing that we were looking at doing. Now, as we enter kind of COVID and post-COVID, that challenge hasn't gone away, although the reason behind it has changed a little bit. It's different for every employee, and I don't think we can't say it's definitely this reason or it's definitely that reason. Some employees have additional challenges that they didn't have before. Kids are if people have children, those kids are either learning from home or in a hybrid model. Daycare isn't what it used to be. Transportation has become more challenging. And so the reality of people being able to get to work and work specific hours has become more challenging. We also see that there are some people that are scared to come back to work. We are, for better or for worse, a forward-facing, people-facing industry. And those people that work in this industry are going to be interacting with the public. And so some employees are scared to come back, particularly if they have underlying health issues. We also have some employees that have chosen not to. They are on unemployment, and it is hard to get them to come back to work.
Yeah. It's a mess. I mean, just as the cash, begins to flow a little bit better, I wouldn't say great, but better for the industry over the course of the summer and the fall. We'll talk about the winter in a minute. But just as it was starting to, normalize in a sense, as you were saying, I think restaurants and customers themselves are starting to get a little bit of a groove. When to wear the mask. Wear the mask right up until the time you see the hostess. The hostess or host takes your name and number, does some contact tracing, and you wear your mask to the bathroom, and you blah 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 blah. And then you sit down and you take it off, and you try to relax, blah blah. And the employees wear their masks, and it's not so spooky anymore, right? And so I think that was kind of what it's been like out there, and you get a rhythm. But if you can't find employees to sustain the increased traffic, it becomes, the customer service thing that, customers are going to demand. It is not an easy business right now, huh? I mean, it just isn't.
It's never been an easy business, and I think it's what we find now is that people working in the industry are working twice as hard to make maybe half as much money as they used to, which was never a lot. The average profit margin of a restaurant pre-COVID was 3%, and it's much lower now. Most people are, if they're making money, they're only breaking even. And so there's a unique set of challenges. We worked really hard to get information out to the public so that they knew what to expect when they went out. And dining has changed a little bit, but the overarching essence of hospitality hasn't. We're still there to offer you a great meal and a great atmosphere with a smile on our face, even if you can't really see it. And it took us a couple of months to figure out how that was going to work. It was certainly a change, but we're getting there, and the customer is getting there, and the employees are figuring it out, and the restaurants are figuring it out.
All right. Well, they're going to have a lot to figure out when it comes to the late fall and winter, which is something that everybody's concerned about. And when we come back on My State of Mind, we'll talk with Sarah about that. Sarah Bratko from the Rhode Island Hospitality Association. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Back to My State of Mind. Sarah Bradko is the Vice President of Advocacy and General Counsel for the Rhode Island Hospitality Association. When I say advocacy, that means that she's on the Hill. She's there trying to figure out what legislation in normal times would advantage the hospitality world. Not for nothing, let me throw you a curveball before we talk about the winter. Kind of weird not having a General Assembly at work, right? I've been very difficult on them from my little perch. I'm very concerned that we have an an autocracy type of government right now. Early COVID, understood it. Late COVID, don't understand it, don't get it, don't think it's good. What's your take?
It's certainly been a different 2020 than we anticipated. We look back on our 2020 advocacy plan that we came up with in November of 2019, and it's somewhat, guess we're not doing that. I think everyone's doing the best they can in the circumstances. Certainly when COVID first hit, I don't think anybody understood what was happening, and the budget in the state is certainly up for, is incredibly challenging right now. And we're all hopeful that the federal government will figure out what it's doing and come back with more money. I think the real frustrating part on our end is less on the state side and more on the federal side, that there has been such a logjam on the federal level. This is a national problem that needs a national response. And we've gotten at the beginning of this, the House and the Senate on the federal level, and the president seem to be kind of figuring it out. And unfortunately, as we've gotten closer to the election, that cooperation seems to have fallen by the wayside in favor of more partisan politics.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with all of that. And look, and folks, you need to understand, Sarah, earns a living representing the Hospitality Association at the State House. She's not going to stand on her head and say they're all a bunch of incompetent cowards sitting under their desks in a fetal position, sucking their thumb. I will. I think it's outrageous that they've taken a powder here. I think there are things that we need oversight on and advocacy for, and it dovetails. We'll get to the winter thing in a second, but it dovetails to even the Rhode Island, the Rebuild Rhode Island grant program. There are so many restaurants and other businesses that fit into the hospitality group here in the state that are desperate for a grant or two to be able to keep them afloat, especially as we get into the tougher winter. And this governor has only dispersed 20% of what we dragged her kicking and screaming to allocate, $50 million from COVID money to send grants into the community. The lieutenant governor, now the League of Cities and Towns, are really putting on a full court press along with the Small Business Coalition to ask her to start disseminating that money through the municipalities, where there's a better intimacy with the business communities there to see, who needs what, and to also, kick into the next $75 million that was the original ask. Is the Hospitality Association taking a position on this slow trickle of grants, and are you joining that fight, or at least an argument?
I'm not familiar with that exact policy position that they are pushing. However, we have been working extraordinarily hard to get that money out into certainly our industry. The Restore Our Eye program is, has been made more simple and easier for businesses to access. It's still hard.
Yeah, not a lot.
It's a lot of work. And as we look at, they're rolling out the new phase, I believe sometime this week, I think probably tomorrow, they're going to relaunch maybe what they're calling round 3 or 4. I don't remember the number they're on yet. That's going to double the grant size available and streamline the process. But, the need for support from all levels of government hasn't gone away. And, the industry, we're not an industry that's really typically looks for handouts, right? Like, we're an industry that's pretty scrappy and figures out what we're doing. And
right.
And for us to come to the state and to the federal government and saying, we need you to step up, we need money, is not something that we would typically do, right? And so the need certainly is there, and the amount of money that we need is only going to increase as this pandemic goes on. We're operating and people are barely hanging on. And the $15,000 grants that were made available were helpful, but people need more. What we really need is a second round of PPP, and that has to come from the federal government. The PPP program was probably the best program that we could have because it encourages people to keep their staff on. The challenge that we had with the original program is that the timing didn't quite work out because they didn't realize how long the pandemic was going to go on. But we need the federal government to do a second round of PPP. That is not that there's any kind of magic solution for us, but that is going to be the best way for us to continue operations. One-off grants are great and they help kind of with the immediate cash flow issue, but it doesn't solve the long-term problems that the industry is facing.
No, it makes perfect sense. Right now, I'd say fat chance, right? Where you're seeing, folks, you're seeing the show on Wednesday. We're taping it on Tuesday, right under what has been the Speaker of the House's deadline for a deal with Steve Mnuchin on behalf of the administration. And, things do change in Washington world on a dime, no doubt about that. But as we creep toward Election Day, it seems to me that at best, we may get something in the lame duck session, and most likely, after inauguration. In our federal delegation, I'm sure is doing what it can, but it sits in the minority on the Senate, right? So, it's not like you're going to drive Mitch McConnell into high gear. It's a crazy time. Anyway, I want to talk about the winter weather and the things that you're concerned about. But while I fell into grants and money and policy and all that kind of a thing, tell me about the hotel industry. And this cry from the hotel industry right now that says, look, we're half of us are going to go out and our gross revenues are down 85%. And we need some real money specific to our industry right now. What's your take?
The hotel industry has been crushed. There's no other word to describe it than absolutely crushed. They were the first part of our industry to feel it. Starting in early February, they started seeing cancellations for meetings and conventions. I think there's a little bit of a misconception where the average person thinks that a hotel makes their money on leisure travel, and particularly in Rhode Island, that's not the case. We depend on meetings and conventions in order to fill our hotel rooms. And unfortunately, people aren't traveling, people aren't doing large social gatherings, and those meetings and conventions for right now are off the table. Newport was able to kind of help itself a little bit during the summer season. Their weekends were busy, during the week was very slow, but Providence and Warwick hotels are facing just unimaginable losses. When we look at the overall hotel occupancy rate in September, in 2019, it was almost 75%. This year, it's only 50%. So we've seen a significant drop, and that number, I should note, does not include the 2 hotels in Providence that are actually still closed. So they need help. They were, because they are large, they tend to exceed the employee threshold for a lot of the help grants. Certainly Restore RI is aimed to help small businesses, and we can't claim that hotels are small, but they're also almost too big to fail. When you look at the hotels specifically in Providence, they are one of the major employers in that city, and we're still operating with 2 of our major landmark hotels, the Providence Graduate and the Omni Providence, closed, and they haven't announced a reopening date.
Ouch. Short answer, if you have it, where do you get the money? Are you asking for a special COVID allocation from state government, or again, trying to whistle Dixie down 95 to Washington?
It's a combination of both. So we've been having conversations with Commerce on how we can take the CARES Act funding and delegate some of that money to the hotels. The challenge that we have is that the CARES Act funding is designated specifically for small businesses, which makes sense, right? And also, the amount of money that it takes to help a hotel is significantly more than it does a small business. They're large buildings with a lot of employees, and their operations are very expensive. We really need a federal bailout package similar to what the airlines are looking for. And airlines and hotels are in a similar boat. People aren't traveling. People aren't going to meetings and conventions. And until we get people back in that, the industry is going to continue to struggle.
All right, when we come back, we'll continue with Sarah Bratko for another quick segment on the winter, as if we could resolve that in a 4-minute conversation. But we'll dabble with it when we come back on My State of Mind. Stay with us. Back to My State of Mind. Sarah Bratko is the Vice President of Advocacy and General Counsel for the Rhode Island Hospitality Association. All right, I promised we'd get to this, the winter weather. Everybody wonders what the quality of life is going to be like during the winter. Restaurants with the restrictions and spacing now. What's your general gut tell you about the survivability of restaurants during this time?
It's going to be hard, and unfortunately there's so many factors that we don't know. We don't know, if we had a winter like we had last year, which was very mild, no major snow, it will be a much different story than if it's significantly cold or we have a lot of snow. Right now, our aim is to keep businesses able to continue serving their customers outside as long as possible. That's not to say that we're expecting people to dine out in January, but if we can get people to dine out maybe until the first week of November, the second week of November, that's going to help businesses with that bottom line. We launched what we're calling our Byo Blanket Campaign, which is encouraging people to say, hey, maybe ordinarily you would have gone inside, but if you might bring your own blanket or bring a heavier jacket and can sit outside and enjoy it, please do. That's not to say, though, that we don't consider indoor dining to be safe. The rules that we have for governing indoor dining are incredibly strict, and the rules are making it safe for people to eat. We haven't seen major outbreaks in restaurants due to the rules that we have governing indoor dining. So it's a little bit of both. It's encouraging customers to eat out, but also to ensure that customers feel safe when they dine in.
Well, it's going to take a big PR push. The governor has been sitting there waving her finger at us and cheerleading at the same time, depending on the matter at hand, from the veterans podium. It's going to take a PR effort of significance, I think, to bolster confidence for consumers who have done their job, dining out, outdoors, and will stretch it. You're right. It's very creative. Bring your own blanket versus your booze. Might be bring your own tea for thermals as well. Do what you have to do. Over a 12-week stretch, it's going to be a leap of faith and/or a belief in data. Right. So it's going to be very important that this conversation is upfront, real, and practical. Don't you think?
Agreed. And I think, everybody has their own comfort levels and people need to do what they feel safe doing. Some people are only comfortable going out and eating outside, and that is what they should do. Some people are only comfortable eating inside if they're with their direct household, and they should make that decision based on themselves and their health and what's going on in their world. What I can tell you, as I said before, is that the rules governing indoor dining are strict. They were developed in concert with the Department of Health, signing off on everything. And I can tell you, not to speak for them, but from dealing with them extensively in my career, they don't sign off on things unless it's safe and it's backed up by data. Where we look at where places are having challenges in the restaurant setting, it's where they don't have these strict rules governing on how they operate. So once again, people need to do what they feel comfortable, but personally, I feel very comfortable eating inside. I think the rules make sense for the situation that we are in, and the data is backing us up on that so far.
Well, from your lips to everybody's ears, one restaurant, for instance, this week, Twin Oaks is down. They, to their credit, one employee's tested positive and they're shutting it down and cleaning. I mean, that's a confidence builder that they take it seriously. At the same time, I mean, talk about fragile. One employee goes down and you're shut down. So it's a high wire act. Last thought on what the winter's going to look like.
I think every business is operating under that model. If you have people, you're going to have situations where people test positive, and it's about the response process that we have put in place makes sense. Twin Oaks, our office is in their parking lot, so I can tell you kind of exactly how they responded to it, and they were proactive and took immediate steps to make sure that not just that their customers knew what they were doing, but to make sure that their employees felt safe and supported during the process. And that's what we all have to continue doing. This is going to be a communal effort. It's going to require everybody to follow the rules and require everybody to work together to make sure that not just our industry, but really our state and our economy make it through.
All right. Well, listen, I think we'll pick up the pace on these conversations because it seems like a very fragile time. I appreciate your transparency and discussion with us, and we'll talk soon, Sarah. Thank you pretty much.
Thank you.
Sarah Bratko from the Hospitality Association here in Rhode Island. Final word when we come back. Please stay with us. One of the things we have to get straight is whether or not we've got COVID money to spread around. One thing I know, if the governor continues to hoard COVID money to plug holes in the state budget, the economy around here may not make it to March. It's that serious, and she's got to refocus. We'll talk to you on the radio weekdays 3 till 6 on WPRO, and back here weeknights. Thanks for tuning in.